Does it work? Does it work? I can't. Yes? You hear me? But I can't hear myself. Okay. Now I hear myself. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think we need to turn these on and to put them on the head because it's headphone. So excellent. And some of us need to leave earlier. That's why we need to start on time. So welcome at the Standards Pavilion of this COP. Du brauchst so ein Ding. Hier, hinter dir. Musst du anschalten. Turn it on. So welcome to the Standards Pavilion and thanks for joining. We are here to discuss standardization for the hydrogen world. My name is Yorgos Chatzimarkakis. I'm the CEO of Hydrogen Europe. Hydrogen Europe is an industry association with more than 600 members. Some of them are represented here. And it's obviously me going to moderate this because industries are highly dependent on standards. If we don't have standards that we can rely on, it's very difficult to build markets for commodities. At the same time, many people think standards are boring. And we will make today the difference. We will show that it's not boring at all. I will introduce our speakers immediately. Before that, I would like to say that a year ago in Dubai, we discussed already this fantastic ISO standard on transparency in the hydrogen sector. We were criticized for presenting this standard as the hydrogen world because some other worlds, especially the guys who concentrate very much on electrons, said, we don't like that, it's too transparent. And we don't think there is too much of transparency. We think if you really want to create a market of CO2 abatement, we need to know how much the abatement really is, how does it work, what's the price then for the abatement. This is exactly what we discussed today, and we have the honor and the pleasure to have the Vice Minister of Germany, one of the most active countries in standardization, here with us, Stefan Wenzel. He is Deputy Minister in the BMWK, the Federal Ministry on Economies and Climate. And he is here, although his party today has a big party congress. So that's commitment. Thanks very much. Commitment for the federal government. You will give a keynote immediately. And we will then discuss with experts in the field. First of all, Christoph Winterthaler, the chairman of the DIN board, and also vice president of ISO. He is there. We had the pleasure last year already to have this discussion, and thanks for also running that show here because it's your booth. Ivana will join in a minute. We have Thorsten Herdan. He's the CEO of HIF EMEA. He is here. He has been a very active part in your ministry some years ago when he still worked in that ministry and built up basic elements of hydrogen strategy of Germany. We have the Deputy Director of the German Industry Association, BDI, Holger Lösch. He is here. He is a Mr. COP. He knows 20 COPs. He's the most experienced COP guy ever. Even 25 COPs he has lived. I think you have only failed one. Did you hear that? 35. 35 COPs. You look younger. You look younger. So, and you survived all the COPs. And I have the pleasure to have next to me James Walker, who is the guy at IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, to deal with all these issues. And what a pleasure to see Francisco de la Flor here. I call him Paco because that's the way he wants to be called. He is the chair of the group of experts on gas and member of the Bureau of the Committee, it goes on sustainable energy, and he's the director at Enagas. So basically he did that at UNECE all these years. So a United Nations agency looking, wow, with this you can get everywhere, you know? Oh, yeah. So he's our keynote speaker and the top guy, but we have another very, very big guy here. So Paco, you will be in, you both need to leave a little bit earlier, so let's start to discuss, and without further ado, I give the floor to Stefan, the Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Jorgo, and thank you very much for this very interesting round here, and also for this very interesting format. When we think back at the beginning of markets and trade, I think that was a moment when standardization starts, because you must know how heavy is a good you like to buy on a market. You have to standardize what is money and all these very basic things. And if we want to have a viable market for hydrogen and derivatives from hydrogen, we need standardization too. We must establishing standards and norms. We must increase safety, trust and efficiency in hydrogen technology and in the products. If you want to buy a product and you want to buy hydrogen, we have to get hydrogen of a specific quality, and that's very important. The German government recognized the importance of this topic at early stage, and Mr. Herdan, Mrs. Falkenrosser, they know how it's beginning in the ministry, and so we are now a couple of steps further on, but the work isn't done. By developing a national standardization roadmap for hydrogen technologies, we have compiled a comprehensive overview of the status quo. It shows us where there are proven standards and where are there gaps of standards and where more standardization might be useful. The needs and suggestions of the industry or of the scientific community and international partners have been incorporated into this process, coordinated by relevant stakeholders. However, it goes far beyond a status report. It provides clear guidance on steps required to set a technical framework with standards for a successful hydrogen economy. And another specific project to support the harmonization project of standards is the establishment of a national regulation codes and standards platform. In short, we call it RCS. We are developing a centralized exchange and networking platform. It will serve as a contact point for all questions relating to regulation, codes and standards in the hydrogen sector. And this gives companies or research institutes and governmental bodies of different ministries. It's not only our ministry. There are a lot of other ministries which are concerned with this. And they can here have access to latest developments and specifications and enables them to exchange ideas. It creates a practical forum that connects stakeholders in hydrogen economy and promotes transfer. And another recommendation of the German H2 stakeholder community is to support a successful development of a digital product passport also in the field of hydrogen. We started with a digital product pass for batteries. We launched it at the last Hanover Fair in April this year, and this might be a good example also to use this tool, and might be a very powerful tool for hydrogen. And so that's some of the ideas we're discussing and we are working on. And I'm very interested to hear your ideas and what you think, where we have to go further on. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you very much. We will talk about the digital product passport on hydrogen, and I have to also welcome in our round and on our panel Munir Beaumont, who is the Director Sustainability at Aveva, and you are doing these kind of things, the preparation, the software preparation for the digital passports. But before we come to you, I would like to ask you, Christoph, DIN and ISO, is hydrogen just another field of making money for you? Or why do you enter into this field, which is a complex field, and you delivered already? The ISO standard is there, has been adopted last year by the states in the International Hydrogen Trade Forum, so congratulations. What's your role, and where do you see future roles, and why were some people so critical against the transparency in that standard? What's your take on this?
Let me start with a statement. I'm very proud sitting here in an international pavilion talking about international standardization, and it's a lot of Germans that come with a good proposal. I mean, I'm a facilitator. But it's still a German kind of strong public-private partnership. People from the government side, from the private sector side, to come up with a proposal to really push forward standardization activities around hydrogen. But as you know better than anybody else, I mean, from the very beginning, this was a European exercise. So we said, let's have a European perspective. Let's make sure to understand what will be the regulatory requirements and how standardization can support and how we can facilitate that dialogue to bring everybody around the table, in particular industry, with the specific demands in the different industry sectors, so we understand from a holistic point of view what's actually needed to make significant progress in the hydrogen infrastructure. But there's already hundreds of committees working somehow in related areas. Those need to be orchestrated, and that was our task, to really bring everybody around the table. And I mean, now with the establishment of this RCS roundtable, it's kind of discussing between regulators and standardizers how regulation needs to progress, how standardization can support. So basically develop things together. Don't wait until the regulation has been finalized and then we start with standardization. Use what's already there, involve the regulator in the discussion, where are they heading, and kind of establish this kind of community. And that's what we have, let's say, as a value proposition, as a standardization community, to really facilitate that kind of dialogue. We should be kind of humble in the background, make sure that the real experts are sitting around the table and there's consensus how to actually make it a success. And one word about transparency. I think it's very important that we don't stop by just looking at hydrogen. If we talk about kind of carbon disclosure, if we talk about transparency, it doesn't help if only hydrogen is transparent. That same level of transparency needs to be accepted in other kind of competing areas, competing forms of energy. And that is so super important, and that puts pressure on the whole system. If we're kind of advancing in the hydrogen field, then of course on the ISO discussion, we will facilitate, wouldn't that be a nice kind of feature? Couldn't we get the same kind of commitments from other forms of energy? And what will be then have to facilitate as a term of a revision of these standards to make sure that at the end we have something that is not only transparent, but it really enables us to compare different forms of how to use energy in an efficient way.
Thank you very much. So I'm also very proud to sit here also as a follow-up. And I liked what you said, put pressure also on other sectors. Paco, I would like to turn to you because you need to possibly leave also earlier. You are an expert especially on infrastructure, gas infrastructure, and not only. Why is our standards and why is this ISO standard so important for you? Also with your knowledge of the UNECE experience that you gained over the years.
Thank you, Jorgo. I think it's really paramount. The standards are really paramount. We, for our company, for our business, for our segment in the transportation sector. But here I would say that with this double cap with UNECE and ENAGAS, we basically concentrate on the UNECE. UNECE, I don't know if everyone is aware, but that is the United Commission. It stands for United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, but it's not only Europe. It's represents 56 countries of the Northern Hemisphere. So that this is a good platform where today, for instance, I would say that there are countries that are somehow outside the dialogue, the debate, but in the United Nations they are in. They are in, like Russia, for instance, Belarus, etc. So that the UNECE brings the possibility to accommodate some others. So this is why we believe it is important. The case of, I'm chair of Group of Experts on Gas, it's a Sustainable Energy Division. Within this group of experts, we, a couple of years ago, we had to develop or to set up a new task force on hydrogen, not to repeat, not to duplicate the work that is being done in other places, but using this platform to also integrate different stakeholders. For instance, we do have within our bureau, just the management of the group, we have André Chubelev, you know quite well, is one of the chairs of the group in the ISO, for instance. But we try to engage, to involve other organizations just to share expertise. Again, not to duplicate anything. Just to also to allow the dissemination of what is being done and also to share. Basically share and disseminate, and probably we can bring something new. For instance, when we speak about just this hydrogen, I mean, it will be said probably today and in the past days many times, rainbow is over. The colors of the hydrogen is over. We believe that within UNECE, together with the experts that are participating in our activities, we believe that the life cycle analysis is the correct way to approach it, and using that as first step, I will tell you why. We have already published a document that I invite all of you to download. It's public available in the website, UNECE website, which is towards a hydrogen economy in the UNECE region. That's focusing on that greenhouse gas emissions associated with production and use. So it's one, let's say, deliverable, one document. Second, it is important that within UN, more than UNECE, there is established what is called the United Nations, I have to read because it's too long, United Nations Framework Classification for Resources and United Nations Resource Management Systems, which is not only for hydrogen, but for all the goods. And I think is among the parts within UN that delivers, and delivers also some kind of standards all over the world. And within this resource, what I learned from them is that they would like to approach this topic not only as life cycle analysis. They would like to, this is something I want to express here, under a multidimensional, let's say, scale with different other factors, not only greenhouse gas emissions. So, and I believe that by engaging, by involving these people in, probably is more than ISO, is something else. And by engaging these people, we believe we may have, this is, takes time, of course, we may have just a good classification for member states, just to have a complete analysis on what is the, let's say, the impact on, for instance, in socio-economical, in many other dimensions. So I think it is good, and just to have this on the scene and start just increasing the dialogue. Then, final comment. You said that I'm in the transmission sector. Well, I read yesterday something. Sorry, I listened yesterday to the European Investment Bank. To one question, just the answer to your question you asked Yorgo about the within the value chain. which is the, let's say, the part that should be immediately promoted, just to develop the hydrogen market, was the infrastructure. The infrastructure, and we do believe in that. We are promoting the infrastructure as company. Currently, we are involved in, we have launched together with other TSOs in the Iberian Peninsula, in France and in Germany. Germany is Open Grid Europe. A call for interest just to look for the appetite of the market to, let's say, produce and consume not any hydrogen, but only green hydrogen, as hydrogen produced from the sun that we enjoy in Spain, South Spain. So how to develop this corridor is one of the corridors within Repower EU. Then we, with the hat of UN, very broad, I have very broad opinion. And then when going to the reality, when landing to one specific case, and here we are connecting Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Germany, we only speak about this kind of hydrogen. And I do believe that if this system of resource classification is set up and other parameters are taken into consideration, are included in the equation, this should be among the top winning solutions. So, thank you very much for inviting me, and happy to accommodate in our hydrogen task force within UNECE to avoid any duplication and to avoid any contradiction. So we have, this is not the best forum in the world, but there are so many that we need to coordinate. And we believe that the coordination is the first and top point in our agenda. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Thanks very much indeed. You talked about the end of the rainbow. So if you stop talking about colors, you need, but you talk about CO2 abatement or CO2 reduction. That's the moment where color comes in. This is pinkish red, and welcome Ivana Yemelkova, the CEO of, that's another nice color, turquoise bluish, similar. And James, you will be the next to talk, because at the end, CO2 abatement good, but the focus so far of your agency, the International Renewable Energy Agency, was on green hydrogen, of course. And why don't we start with that color, although we talk about the end of the rainbow, because you also make the focus, and you need to leave earlier, so 5 minutes. The IRENA got engaged later than others, but then with full power into that hydrogen idea. You have wonderful slides where you show where the future trade flows will be. It will be international trade flows. If you make a heat map in the world, you will see hydrogen will be produced where nobody lives. So you need to transport it with pipelines or with other. Why are the standards so important out of IRENA view? Is it a precondition, or will we see already trade flows before standards are internationally recognized? James.
Thank you very much. I promise I did not color code my outfit. It's a genuine coincidence, but Ivana, it's great to clash across the circle. Thank you likewise for the invitation, the opportunity to be here amongst a really distinguished panel. I live in Germany, so I'm also joining this sub-panel. Danke. Yes. So it's a great question, Jorgo. I think the short answer is that it's inevitable that we're going to see continuing development of production facilities before we have the standards and certification landscape in place that we know we need. This is particularly true in some countries more than others. But I think if we're going to deliver and develop the sustainable green, perhaps amongst clean hydrogen sector that I think we're all here to discuss, it's right that we're prioritizing standards, certification, regulatory frameworks in the discussions we're having. And it's been a really important focus of our work in this hydrogen trade landscape, because we recognise regulation, standards and certification as perhaps the most important de-risking mechanisms, the most important confidence building mechanisms that our member governments can bring forward. So it's clear that demand and finance and FIDs are incredibly important for the sector that we're all so enthusiastic about. But when we think about what the international collaboration that we seek to drive can bring, these three are really important areas. So in addition to what we've been doing with the World Trade Organization, where we try to pave the way or understand the pathway forward for the development of these international markets, that's very important work, and we think it's been really impactful. It's had a lot of attention. In addition to that, we're also working really hard on standards, regulation and certification. It's perhaps slightly less exciting, I'm sorry to say, to this group. Maybe doesn't attract the same level of attention, but we think it's incredibly important. So in 2023, we published a stocktake report with the Rocky Mountain Institute, where we looked at state of certification for the hydrogen sector, and we have seen really significant progress since that was published. So we came out with another report in the same vein just last month, and this time we decided we would focus instead on the derivative sectors. So we're really clear that the derivative sectors are incredibly important for the decarbonisation of the hard-to-abate sectors and the various industrial sectors that we're looking to address. And we don't see the same level of development of standards and certification and indeed regulatory frameworks for those sectors, and that's a challenge. Then today, this morning, we also published a further report. This time it's looking at quality infrastructure for the green hydrogen sector in our case, and that's was in partnership with the German Metrology Institute, PTB, and funded by the German, I keep getting the name wrong in English, so I'm going to say the Bundesministerium für Zusammenarbeit, BMZ, and really grateful for the support and the partnership there. And what we've done there is look at how quality infrastructure services across the whole various pillars can support the development of the sectors that we're discussing today. And in that, we're looking at the opportunity to bring standards certification alongside accreditation and testing metrology. So I'm being a little bit rude in expanding the scope of the question, but I think it's important that we discuss all of these pillars and all of these enablers and all of these market enablers in the conversation.
No, love very much what you say about confidence building. So standards as a very important measure to build confidence, and by that also to de-risk. It's new. It's good for US. I would like to turn to Thorsten because I want Stefan, the Deputy Minister, also to listen to two German voices. One voice that is internationally active, and I think you can directly follow up to what James just said, especially because you are in that derivative sector. And after that, of course, Holger. Gracias. Thanks very much. And
I'm going to speak about the same thing in another...
Go ahead. Confidence building. I have a new word now. Confidence building. Can I have this microphone? Give it to Thorsten already. How do you react to what Irina says? Because you are in that field. Where are we, by the way? Because you are in the market. You are trying to find clients. Where are we compared to others? And what do you expect from ISO or from your ministry or from the European Commission or from the UN? Thorsten Herder.
I think the most important is that we have an international, recognized, repeatable, transparent standard. And I would like to build up, make it very simple on what Stefan said. When we are going to buy something, 250 grams of butter, we will pay more if we get 500 grams of butter because we can weigh it. It's very easy. Put it on the wage and then we have it. This is not the case for energy. And I want to say energy. I don't care on electrons or hydrogen or derivatives or whatever type it is. And then we have to understand that in the past, we sold energy by what? By the energy content, or call it calorific value, or whatever you will call it. That was the one and only measure what we sold. More calorific value, more price. And now we have another dimension in the game, which is the CI index, or call it CO2 footprint, or call whatever it is. So the CO2 amount in the package of butter. So if I'm selling my product, which may be e-methanol, or I don't care, out of Chile, out of US, out of Morocco, out of Tasmania, I simply want to know that what I put on my label is recognized worldwide. And for this, I need an international, recognized, acknowledged standard, which I can follow, and everybody can prove that I did the right thing, and I'm selling 250 grams of butter. In this case, I'm selling a kilogram of e-methanol with X grams of CO2 in it, right? Why? Because I have to comply with two different things. The one is the regulative framework, so that I know if I want to sell something into Europe, I have to follow this completely idiotic, crazy RFMBO standards, which hopefully will go very quick from the table. And then I need to understand that I have to sell to my client, my customer, to my off-taker, we call them now off-taker, a CO2 footprint. And I exactly know if I'm selling him 5, I will get more money than I'm selling him 15. And he needs to understand what is 5 and what is 15 all over the world. And I can go to him and say, well, you get from me 3. And he's happy in giving me more money. And I'm happy too with this. So this differentiates me from maybe others which can only sell at 20. So putting in the green field this, maybe I'm then selling not only green, but I'm selling Gucci green. Because I'm selling with 3 only. I'm meeting the standards, okay, but this is what we are all about. We have to understand that the product energy becomes a different value. And this is the CO2 footprint. And if we understand that, then we understand either we have a worldwide standard, and ISO is just perfect for that. It's, by the way, boring. I've been secretary of an ISO technical committee for many years, but it is important boring, because if you don't have that boring stuff, then we are lost. Then we are not completely lost. So for us, it's so important, and thank you very much for that approach, and also Irina of helping with us out. And you just need to take it. Don't think on that, just take it. It's so easy.
Yeah, Thorsten worked in the ministry before, so we pass on to Holger. He knows he knows how the ministry works. Holger, BDI, German Industry Association, accused for using standards to pave the way for the German exports. Do you have the same intention here in hydrogen sector? Yes or no?
We were accused?
Yeah, of course. Globally, Germans created standards in order to export their goods.
This is why the Chinese copied it.
Yeah, and they are very successful in doing that. Do you have the same intention here in hydrogen?
No, I don't think so. I think that, well, first of all markets work on certain rules. We take butter, can take about everything. So nobody will pay a kilogram of something green without having any specification what it takes. So it's good that we start to get away from the color scheme. This is the first thing. Nobody is buying or building a global market in a color scheme. The other thing is for German industry, it's very easy. So under the existing climate targets Europe and Germany have set themselves, we will need about 130 terawatt hours of hydrogen by 2030 per year in Germany for catering for industry. So 70% about of this will not come from Germany, they will come from somewhere else. Middle East, Australia, Norway, India, you can name it, wherever. So we're talking about a global market. And if this is not coming, we are going to have a problem either with the industry or with the climate targets. So we need this. And therefore, it's so important that we bring some, how to say, some confidence in all of these communities, because we're not talking about somebody asking for hydrogen. Somebody asking for hydrogen needs somebody who is producing hydrogen, and he probably is going to produce hydrogen because he thinks somebody is going to ask for hydrogen. And then he needs a third guy who says, okay, there's one producing, one asking for, and I need to do the infrastructure. So we have a multiple chicken egg problem here. And all we need is real good rules and a confidence that this market is going to build up in a very logical way. Otherwise, everybody is saying, oh, perhaps the rules are going to change, so I'm going to invest next year. But I talked about 2030 and 130 terawatt hours of hydrogen. So this is not a very long time. We don't have a long time to start this market, and therefore we need everything which helps to overcome these chicken egg problems. And their norms and standards are going to play an important role. And I would say it's important for those who are going to produce abroad as well. So it's not just us, in this case, it's not us protecting some, how would you say, business magic from other markets. It's about creating global markets, and I think those who will export or want to produce, will profit from something like this as well. And therefore, I would say we are way too late to start this, way too late, and we should really try to do everything that this market is going to start to run. It really has to run. And yesterday we were in I mean, if I hear people today who say, oh, I mean, hydrogen, this is rare and it's very expensive and wow, this doesn't work. I mean, those people are talking like some people in the 90s about green electricity. It's just too rare, it's not enough there, and so what should we do? So, but then we acted, and I think we have to do the same thing for hydrogen, and norms and standards will be important to create a global market for this commodity. And it's going, from our perspective, it has to be the next big commodity.
So you said it's too slow. We heard from Stefan, who can stay until 5 o'clock, which is super, until the end of the debate. We heard that there will be a digital product passport. Munir, I come to that immediately. Before that, I would like to elaborate with Ivana a little bit on the process, because there has been a process run especially by the Hydrogen Council, which is a club of CEOs globally, that has been started 2016, 2017. So we are on the road for some years. And these global leaders in hydrogen, I remember Shell, Toyota, Air Liquide, Air Products. So from all around the globe, people sat together, CEO level, and said, we need to fix that. So I was a little bit a witness from my side, and we initiated it. Why took it so long? What's the hurdles that we face in the hydrogen sector, that we are in a delay, as Holger said, and we can accelerate with digital product passport, but why are we in a delay here? What's your take?
So thank you, Jorgo. Wonderful to be here, and thank you all for this important conversation. I know we are super proud of the Hydrogen Declaration and all the other wonderful things that we managed to accomplish here at COP, but frankly, this is the meeting. This is the meeting that will ultimately allow us to do business. So we at the Hydrogen Council believe that there is no energy transition without hydrogen, and we believe that there is no hydrogen without standards. Standards are absolutely fundamental, and I'm so grateful that earlier our colleague Andrei Chuvalev got a shout out, because the Hydrogen Council has been really now for several years doing the not so glamorous type of work, and really putting pen to paper and helping draft the standards, the ISO methodology for the calculation of greenhouse gas footprint on life cycle analysis or on life cycle basis. So that is really absolutely key, and we are very proud to have been the representative of global business in this process. Thorsten, you hit the nail on its head. If we do not define, measure, verify, and certify the climate attributes of hydrogen, we don't have a tradable product. So an audacious proposal. What if we move from the colors and then all of the super confusing terminology of renewable, low carbon, low emission, clean, to just hydrogen CI1, hydrogen CI3, hydrogen CI5. My hydrogen has carbon intensity index, whatever we call it, but there is a number attached to it. It's such a unifier. It's so clear. And then we don't need to say what's right or wrong. We just make the data available to the market, and the market will choose. In principle, very simple, right? So why hasn't it been done? Two reflections on that. One, the industry has been saying this for a long time. Carbon, not color. Carbon, not color. Carbon, not color. We have not necessarily been historically heard. I remember events in the 2018, 19, 20 framework where government officials would literally pause halfway through a speech and say, oh, sorry, I forgot to say green hydrogen. I have to go back because otherwise I will get punished when I get back home from this conference. So I think we have come a long way from this focus on perfection and picking and choosing, and that we don't have that luxury. We need to be practical and pragmatic, and frankly, again, progress, not perfection. We need every decarbonized electron. We need every decarbonized molecule. If we don't do that, we all lose. So I think that message is now finally landing, and Daria and team managed to make standards the star of COP28. Who would ever imagine to have standardization as that sexy, cool topic? It is that sexy, cool topic because it is fundamental to. Now we will make it. Come on, we will make it be that topic. It's fundamental to the business case, and I really am so heartened to see not just us talk about this, but yesterday, day before, losing track. But at some point at this COP, we were at the Trade House with the Director General of WTO, with the Director General of IRENA, and they were saying the exact same things. That's new, and it's wonderful. And they have the power to, as soon as the ISO standards becomes downloadable on the website, to literally print it and bring it to every single government and say, please, refer to this piece of thinking, this piece of rules in your legislation, because that is how we create that common language. So it may not quite sound like hydrogen CI1, hydrogen CI3, but at least we can start calculating and operating from the same standard. So I'm actually really fired up about standards.
It's good.
And no, seriously, it all boils down to the business case. And if we do not let business do their part by creating that playing field, that sort of space where they can do their part, then we will never get this done.
You should have seen Christoph's eyes when you said standards are sexy. He loves that. He works his life on standards, and it's good for him to hear that.
I want to order 10 standards right now.
Yes.
Let's do this.
CI1, CI2, CI3. How to translate this, Munir, into something which is easily to understand? So Stefan already alluded to the battery digital product passport, which you launched and which is very successful. Can we translate this? You are an expert in software, in running data banks. So how can we translate it understandable for the rest of the world, Munir?
Perfect. Thank you very much for inviting me. And apologies, I'm not part of the German group.
Not yet.
Now that England has a German manager, maybe we'll win something, right? Maybe finally we will win something. So, transparency, right? We started off earlier at the start of this discussion about transparency, about the CO2 content and how important it is. We're the outsiders here in this conversation because we're a software company. And I come from a company called Aviva, with an E, not the I. So we're a software company, industrial software company. Our solutions are all about the engineering, design, simulation, construction, and then operations and maintenance. And we're part of the Schneider group of companies, right? So we've got much more experience than probably people realize from where we come from. But talking about what Yorgos is asking me, the software, and this is also has been the evolution of our software. We've actually built a platform today, and the platform has become agnostic. And I can give you an example. We're working on a lighthouse project with a customer, not in hydrogen, but a steel manufacturer. And the request from them is for every coil of steel that they manufacture, they want to have a QR code. A scannable QR code where you can see the carbon content from that steel that you're buying. And our platform is enabling this, right? And the way we do it is we built it into a community where the full supply chain can participate and open up and provide the data and information in there. Now, I was discussing this with someone, I think yesterday, and before this role, I used to sell contract management software. And I said, from a contract, whenever a contract is being awarded, you can make it a contractual obligation that's as part of the delivery. You're not just selling me the goods that I need, but you have to provide the information in this format and through that platform. And then it becomes a contractual obligation. Now, if that forms part of the standard, even better, right? Because then you reference the standard and you don't have to make it custom for every single contract. But this is the only way I can see that you can start getting that information. But you need the transparency. You need the transparency, and the transparency has to be there. And we have the I can't believe I'm going to say this. We have the technology today to actually do this, right? To enable this. And there are a lot of hydrogen companies now, whether it's in the UK, in Germany, in Spain as well, and they need that help and capability. Because, yes, sir.
So with this technology, we can catch up the time that we lost.
We can catch up the time because you can start getting that full supply chain. Now, it's still a lighthouse project that we're doing because we want to prove to our customer that we can do it, and we want to prove that our software can do it as well.
So, Torsten wants to react directly, and Stefan has a question to Christoph, who would anyhow to take the floor. Okay, Minister, geht immer vor.
I just want to ask if there are other examples for digital product passes already. You mentioned, you made, or you know. That's my question.
Now I'm getting excited because it's really a discussion that is about building a quality infrastructure, making data transparent, expanding the definition of quality from just how much energy is contained to, what is the carbon intensity? So that's another kind of parameter. But when we need to disclose it, we need to have some kind of a container so that we don't create paper or reprint stuff, because we can't do that with hydrogen. So we need to have a data infrastructure that kind of delivers kind of these parameters that everybody wants to compare. And that is happening across different sectors. We have that in the construction area, we have it in batteries, now we talk about hydrogen. There's a lot of products that will require these kind of data infrastructure. That's why we need a generic solution for a digital product passport. There has been successful work in the battery passport area, but now it's a standardization request from the European Commission to make a generic kind of data format of these containers, which is super important, because in the end we want to compare with different sectors. We want to compare different kind of carbon intensity values. So everybody needs to have a product passport that can be accessed in the same way, that can be measured and upgraded throughout the life cycle of a product. And that's why it's so important that we talk about the content. So what kind of parameters do we want to make mandatory? Everybody fills the data and gives access to these data. And then the question is, how do we provide access? Which is another set of very important standards. What is the standard way of implementing this in a cloud infrastructure? How need to manage the access rights to the parameter? Who can access the values? How can you write the values? Which is the generic definition of a digital product passport.
I would like to give the floor to Torsten and to Holger, but there's a question. Maybe you might be addressees of the question. Can you take the microphone and ask? And in between, I would like to also thank Daria, because she was holding indeed the pen during last year's COP, when the International Hydrogen Trade Forum came up with this, when 24, correct me, member states In the meanwhile, 40 states signed this. So she was holding the pen in this process, and without her, we wouldn't be here. So representing the Hydrogen Council, thank you very much for that. Efkaristo.
Well, I'm possibly representing the opposition. I'm from the IEC on the electrical side. However, und ich kann auch Deutsch sprechen, wenn wir wollen. I absolutely agree with there are going to be multiple solutions in the low carbon solution, and I was on the session this morning with James representing the IEC, which is a little strange being in a hydrogen world. However, I think it is essential that there is that clear definition of the carbon intensity of all the solutions. And I've been very heartened by hearing what you've all said, because if we've got many electrical solutions, of which many will be in certain sectors, for instance, I was the chief executive of the electrical industry in the UK, and we were in constant battles with the hydrogen industry. Now, what I've heard today, I think that danger's gone, because if there is clarity on the carbon intensity, as you said, carbon intensity 1, 2, 3, then the customers, be they in residential or industrial or commercial, can make a comparison, a genuine comparison between the electrical solution, which in all cases may not be the right solution, in many areas it will be, and so I think that is ideal. And one final point, I sit on the Market Strategy Board of the IEC, which is the future tech bit. And many of those experts around the world keep coming with hydrogen issues. And I say, no, it's not for us. However, elements can be. If you believe there are standards that need to be electrical standards, particularly in the production of particularly green hydrogen, because it will come from renewables, and therefore there's an electrical element. I'm sure the IEC and the ISO are in contact, but we need to know what standards are required from the electrical sector to make your standards work. I hope that makes some sort of sense.
Just a very quick reaction. Very good news. Actually, ISO and ICQ are already developing a verification certificate on the basis of a 19870 draft technical specification. So this work is already underway, and we fully agree. And this is really ongoing. And just one quick reflection. I think that there is a lot of, in certification space, the development of the declaration and the adoption of the declaration of intent was a huge milestone. Thank you to Germany, to Namibia, and to Japan for leading this work at international, in the international arena at COP28. It was a real breakthrough because governments, for the first time, agreed we need to pursue mutual recognition between our national certification schemes to enable tradability, right? And I think there are a lot of good ideas, you know, around digitalization, but I think the ultimate question is, can consumers use the certificate for compliance with incentives, mandates, and very specific instruments that are being deployed at national level? Yes or no? Doesn't matter whether it's a passport, doesn't matter whether it's a, you know, however you call it, passport, certificate, as long as you can meet compliance requirements that allow you to unlock incentives, yes, that will help build the business case. If it is, again, a voluntary instrument, I think it's a great one to have, and there will be more voluntary markets developing, but let's be honest, I think that this is a discussion between experts. Right now, compliance markets, based on incentives and mandates, are by far the priority for the sector, right? So I think that is why I think this ongoing work on operationalizing the sort of certification schemes that allow you to effectively tap into those incentives is by far the main priority. Thank you.
Falken Großer, that now, sorry. So thanks to you, Christine, last COP in Dubai. Thorsten.
Yeah, I think what is important that we are not leaving here without touching the white elephant in the room. We have the ISO standards, and it's not a miracle how to measure CI index for whatever type of energy given to the market. We have all the ingredients, so we can do that. But the white elephant in the room is that this may be completely insufficient, because I have to meet, in addition to that, some rules which even with the lowest ever thinkable CI score on my product, I'm still gray. And my customer tells me, oh goodness, I don't want that stuff. You are CI score close to 0. But unfortunately, the electricity, the green electricity you've used, has got subsidies.
Or has not been produced in the same hour.
Yeah, well, I would say then we have a different CI score, because then another electric, but has got subsidies.
It's not green anymore.
Like in the EU and in US, it's not green anymore. I say, well, it's the same molecule. The one is subsidized, it's cheaper. The other one is not subsidized, it's more expensive. The same CI score, cheaper one, more expensive one. The cheaper one is gray. But that's a pity. And we have so much rules on that, so I think we need to align the CI score with the political thinking. I fully understand that we may create also some categories and say, okay, this is an electricity based on fossils. This is an electricity based, this is an energy molecule based on fossils. That's a molecule based on renewable electricity. This is a molecule based on nuclear electricity. I would say if we don't look at that, we will never achieve agreement amongst the various different governments in the world. But please, let us not have the lowest CI score ever, but for certain reasons, we cannot sell that product because it's defined by some country in the world as gray. And why I'm saying that, because we have exactly that debate with our Japanese friends. They are very pragmatic. They clearly tell us, and we have Japanese, we'll have customers. We have Japanese shareholders. We even have JOGMEC, which is the Japanese organization for securing resources and energy, as one of our shareholders. In our company, the Japanese state is invested. Why? Because they said, this is a great company because they are submitting me stuff which I desperately need. And now we're discussing with them and say, look, we have everything, but unfortunately we have, out of the US, electricity subsidized, so according to European readings, this is gray. So fuck off there, sorry. We don't want that, because maybe we need to resell it to Europe.
English-speaking round.
Yeah.
We are not in Germany anymore.
So this is something we need to tackle. We need to name, and we need to find solutions. Otherwise, we are continuing with not continuing.
So Stefan will, I think, take the floor if he wants. But Holger had a comment before.
I only can support this. I mean, this is so we set so many rules and so many preconditions for somebody to produce hydrogen. So I remember standing in Australia in a factory for ammonia, and I said, oh, this is great. The ammonia, if it's green, it could come to Germany. And they said, no, never look at your red regulation. So it's just not working. No, but what I wanted to say, so the digital product pass, so this is part of the circular economy issue. And we need this urgently because we need to know where raw materials go when they are sold and produced. So this is a very important point we really have to keep in the eye is the convergence of digitalized and real economy. Because if we ever want to get to a circular economy, we really need to know where things are going. And our fear is, so we support the general idea, but our fear is that in the end it's a digital instrument for absolute over-regulation and not an instrument to enable companies to keep track of where their stuff is going, where it's coming from, which kind of CO2 value it has, and so on. So this is in general the absolute right way to go, but if I look at the detailed discussions in the European Commission, so I have a slight fear that they might use it for the perfect digitalized regulation instrument. So if this is coming, it's not good, but we need it, and I don't know, there's probably, if it comes, there are going to be a lot of competitors for this.
Okay, would you give the microphone to Stefan, because I think we have to close 1 minute.
I just only want to remember to the letter of my minister. He wrote to the Commission because of the regulation of green hydrogen, and he made the proposal to rethink the additionally and the delivering on the same moment or in the same quarter of an hour. And at the first moment now the Commission said no, we have a reverse on 28, but I think it's a quite normal answer in a moment where we have no new Commission, and if we have the new Commission, it might be possible to talk about it in the next months, and I'm hopeful about that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stefan. Indeed, Mrs. von der Leyen said in the first 100 days of her new mandate, she will come up with a clean industry agenda, act, and this will be part of it. The letter was extremely helpful, extremely useful, so grateful for that. It's a wonderful debate. We could indeed continue. We wouldn't have possibly expected that. Sorry that I have to close here now, but would you please stay for a family photo and clear message to the electricity world? We are transparent. We want to be part of decarbonization and not greenwashing. It's the opposite. I think this clear message is the summary of today's debate. Thanks very much to all of you. Family photo. Thank you.